Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in and welcome back to another episode of the Carnivore Kitchen podcast. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today we're going to be talking about building muscle and having some ground beef. And for those of you interested in learning how to make a carnivore nacho platter using ground beef, then check out the link in the description. The name of today's episode is Bigger, Stronger, Faster. Last week, we discussed the importance of protein when it comes to building muscle, and today we're going to be talking about how to train to build muscle. When it comes to training for the purpose of building muscle, a few things that we need to talk about are the SAID principle or specific adaptation to impose demand, acute exercise variables for hypertrophy, total training volume, progressive overload, recovery, and plateaus. First, let's discuss the SAID principle, specific adaptation to impose demand. As the name implies, if you provide your body with a specific stimulus, then your body will have to adapt to the demand of that stimulus. If you always train the conventional barbell deadlift, then you will get really good at the conventional barbell deadlift, but that doesn't mean that you will be good at Atlas stone lifting. Even though both of those exercises utilize the same primal movement pattern, the bend pattern, and the biomechanics are quite similar, they are very different in their muscular recruitment. With the conventional barbell deadlift, you are lifting a bar from 9 inches off the ground with a nice closed grip, and you want to maintain a neutral spine. Whereas with the Atlas stone, you are lifting the stone from the ground with your knuckles basically touching the ground, and you are using an open hand while lifting with a rounded spine, which means it will require significantly more grip strength and lower back strength from your forearm flexors and lumbar spine extensors. The same is true with all exercises. If you want bigger biceps, then you can perform seated horizontal cable rows, standing barbell biceps curls with fat grips, or seated easy bar squat curls. All three exercises will train your biceps. However, the muscular recruitment patterns between each of these exercises will be quite different. When you are performing a seated horizontal cable row, you will also be recruiting your lower back muscles, such as your erector spinae group, in order to remain erect, and your upper back muscles, such as your scapular retractors and shoulder extensors, in order to pull the weight. When you are performing a standing barbell biceps curl with fat grips, there will be a lot more recruitment of your wrist and finger flexors since you are curling the bar with a more open hand, and your center of gravity will be higher, which means that you will be less stable and will be recruiting more from your core muscles such as your abdominals and deep spinal stabilizers in order to stabilize yourself, and your posterior chain muscles such as your ankle plantar flexors, knee flexors, hip extensors, posterior pelvic tilters, and your spinal erectors such as your erector spinae group in order to remain in an upright position. When you are performing a seated easy bar squat curl, you are doing so with a nice closed grip, since you are gripping a thinner bar, and you are going to be a lot more stable since you are in a seated position. And the only action that you are engaging in is elbow flexion, which recruits your biceps. Therefore, if you are specifically trying to grow your biceps, then an exercise such as the seated easy bar squat curl would be preferable over the seated horizontal cable row and the standing barbell biceps curl with fat grips, since it is going to recruit much more of your elbow flexors while minimizing recruitment of all of the aforementioned muscles from the seated horizontal cable row and the standing barbell biceps curl with fat grips. So, if you want to grow a specific muscle, then you must impose the appropriate exercise in order to demand that muscle to adapt to that stimulus. Next, let's take a look at acute exercise variables for hypertrophy. Hypertrophy simply means muscle growth, and acute exercise variables are your sets, reps, intensity, tempo, time under tension, and rest. One repetition is an exercise from the starting position to the finishing position. For the squat, you start in a standing position and then lower yourself down to the ground and finish the exercise by standing back up to the starting position. That is one repetition. One set is the total number of repetitions you perform for a given exercise before resting. The intensity is the relative load of the exercise, which can either be reflected as a percentage of your 1 repetition maximum, or 1 RM, or by the number of repetitions in reserve, or RR. If you are gauging repetitions by percentage of your 1 RM, and you can lift 100 pounds for 1 repetition, then 70% intensity means that you would lift 70 pounds for that exercise. If you are gauging repetitions by the number of repetitions in reserve and you see -3 RR, then whichever weight you choose to lift, you should still be able to perform 3 more repetitions by the end of the set if you were to keep going. The tempo is going to be the speed of execution of the exercise. Every lift has 4 phases: the lowering or eccentric phase, the pause at the bottom position, the lifting or concentric phase, and the pause at the top position. Each phase will either have a number, which will dictate how many seconds that phase of the lift should last, or will have an X, which means that it should be performed explosively and you should lift the weight as fast as you can. You should only ever see an X during the concentric phase. Whenever I write tempo prescriptions, they are always in the order of eccentric, posit bottom, concentric, posit top. So, let's say I were to write a 4-1 exo tempo for a squat and deadlift program. That means that for the squat, you are going to lower down for 4 seconds, pause at the bottom position for 1 second, stand up as fast as you can, and then immediately begin to squat back down without resting at the top position. Whereas, for the deadlift, you are going to start by standing up as fast as you can and then immediately lowering the bar down to the ground for 4 seconds, and then allow the weight to rest on the ground for 1 second before you begin the next repetition. This is because, for the squat, you are starting from the top position, and for the deadlift, you are starting from the bottom position. Next, we have time under tension, or TUT. Time under tension is how long each set takes. If you are performing a 4-0-2-0 tempo, then 1 repetition will take 6 seconds to complete, and if you are performing 12 repetitions, then that set will take 72 seconds to complete. Therefore, the time under tension for that set will be 72 seconds. Lastly, we have rest. Your rest is the amount of time that you are going to rest in between sets. Once you become more advanced, there are many ways in which you can manipulate these acute exercise variables. However, for now, you can use these basic general guidelines for hypertrophy. Sets should be anywhere between 4 to 10, your repetitions should be anywhere between 6 to 12, the intensity should be between 60 to 85% intensity, your tempo should be anywhere between a 2-to-1 and 4-to-1 ratio between eccentric or the lowering phase and concentric or the lifting phase, and the time under tension should be 20 to 70 seconds with a 90 to 180 second rest period in between each set. Next, let's take a look at total training volume. Total training volume is basically how much work you perform per workout and can be reflected as total pounds, kilograms, tons, or metric tons. Personally, I like to use metric tons when looking at total training volume, and the way it is calculated is by adding all of the set volumes together. To calculate volume of each set, you simply multiply the total number of repetitions performed by the total weight lifted for each set, which will give you the set volume. Then, to calculate the total training volume, you add each of the set volumes together to give you your total training volume. So, if you perform 10 sets of 10 repetitions using a 100-pound weight, then 10 times 10 times 100 equals 10,000 pounds. Therefore, your total training volume can be represented as 10,000 pounds, 4,540 kilograms, or 4.54 metric tons. When it comes to hypertrophy, higher training volumes are associated with greater increases in muscular size. This is one of the reasons why moderate number of sets such as 4 to 10 and repetitions such as 6 to 12 using a moderate intensity such as 60 to 85% is going to be optimal for building muscle, as opposed to a training program where you are focusing on a higher number of sets and intensity while performing lower repetitions. The total training volume just won't be high enough. Let's use the example from earlier of performing 10 sets of 10 repetitions. This style of training is referred to as German volume training and was taught to me by one of my mentors, Charles Poliquin, in 2010. It is a high volume training system, and the basic blueprint for the standard German volume training method is that you want to pick one exercise to be your main exercise and perform 10 sets of 10 repetitions using 60% intensity or a weight that you can lift for 20 repetitions. It's one of my favorite training methods and one that I like to circle back to once per year while modifying the exercises and acute exercise variables, and has given me some of the best results with regard to increasing strength and hypertrophy. When performing basic strength training, you are performing a very low number of repetitions, which means that the total training volume will also be lower, since we know that the total training volume equation is sets times reps times load. Let's do the math and compare the total training volumes of a basic strength training program, something like a 5x5 routine, versus a high volume training routine such as German volume training. With something like the 5x5 training routine, you are picking one exercise and performing 5 sets of 5 repetitions using approximately 85% of your 1 repetition maximum. Therefore, if your 1 RM on a given exercise is 100 pounds, then the training volumes for your main exercise on a 5x5 workout compared to a German volume training workout would be as follows. For the 5x5 workout, you would multiply 5, which is the number of sets, times 5, which is the number of repetitions, times 85, which is the amount of pounds that you are lifting, or the load. And that equals 2,125 pounds, or 0.9645 metric tons. Whereas if we were to take a look at German volume training, you are going to multiply 10, which is the number of sets, by 10, which is the number of repetitions, by 60, which is the load or the pounds that you are lifting. That will give you 6,000 pounds, or 2.724 metric tons. As you can see, even though you are lifting almost 42% more weight on the 5x5 workout, 85 pounds versus 80 pounds, the total training volume is 182% greater with the German volume training workout, 7.72 metric tons versus 0.96 metric tons. It's also worth noting that when you are performing something like German volume training, the typical rest period between sets is 90 seconds, whereas with the 5x5 workout, the typical rest periods are 180 seconds between sets. Therefore, depending on the tempo that you are following, the completion of a single exercise on a typical German volume training workout will take between 18.5 and 23.5 minutes, whereas the completion of a single exercise on a typical 5x5 workout will take between 13 and 15 minutes. So, even if we were to equate volume on a minute per minute basis, you're still lifting a significantly greater volume per minute on something like a German volume training workout, which would be something like 0.12 and 0.5 metric tons per minute, than you would on a 5x5 workout where you are lifting between 0.06 and 0.07 metric tons per minute using the earlier example. Next, let's discuss the principle of progressive overload. This is one of the most important concepts to understand and one of the reasons many people fail to see results. Progressive overload, simply put, is doing more than you did the previous workout. This can be accomplished by one of 5 ways. You can increase the number of sets you are performing, increase the number of repetitions you are performing, increase the load you are lifting, increase the time under tension of the set, or you can modify the rest periods. Let's start by increasing the number of sets you are performing. A set window is when you have a program where the number of sets vary from workout to workout and is an effective method for beginners who have never worked out before to allow them to start slowly and gradually build up time and volume in the gym and minimize muscular soreness. This is a terrific method for elderly people, youths, and deconditioned athletes. Imagine that you are performing a workout where you have a set window in your workout, let's say 4 to 6 sets. One of the ways in which you can increase your total training volume would be to perform 4 sets the first workout, 5 sets the second workout, and 6 sets on each subsequent workout. The second way to progress your workout and increase total training volume is to increase the number of repetitions you are performing. A repetition window is similar to a set window, but is much more common and better for individuals who are either a bit more experienced or who don't mind a bit of post-workout soreness. Imagine that you are performing a workout where the sets are static, let's say 4 sets, but you have a repetition window of 8 to 12 repetitions. Each workout, you want to pick a weight that is heavy enough that you can complete all 12 repetitions, but that isn't so heavy that you cannot complete 8 repetitions. So let's say that once you get to your working sets, your non-warm-up sets, that you are able to complete the 12 repetitions on the first 2 sets, but you can only complete 10 repetitions on the 3rd set and only 8 on the 4th and final set. The following workout, you want to be able to complete all 12 repetitions on the first 2 sets and try to get 11 or 12 repetitions on the 3rd set and 9, 10, 11, or 12 repetitions on the 4th and final set. The third way to progress your workout and to potentially increase total training volume is to increase the load you are lifting. The goal of this strategy is that you never want to continue to use a weight that you have successfully completed on the previous workout and is great for intermediate and advanced lifters who don't mind being sore. This strategy can be used in conjunction with a repetition window or by having a standard number of repetitions for each set. For this example, let's say that both sets and repetitions are static and that your workout consists of 4 sets of 12 repetitions. If you are able to complete all 12 repetitions on all 4 sets using proper form, then you want to increase the weight the following workout. It doesn't matter how difficult that last set was or how hard you struggled on that final repetition. If you want to grow, then as long as you were able to complete that final repetition using proper form, then increase the weight on the following workout. It's also worth noting that a bit of shaking while performing a repetition does not constitute improper form. If you start twisting your body in awkward positions in order to get the weight up, then that is improper form and should be avoided to minimize the chance of injury. If you are performing a barbell back squat and you need to round your spine to get the weight up on the final repetition, then that is improper form and you should not go up in weight the following workout. The fourth way to progress your workout and to potentially increase total training volume is to increase the time under tension of the set. This can be accomplished by one of two ways. You can either have a specific tempo for each repetition, or you can have a set time to work interval and perform as many repetitions as you can during the work interval. Let's say that you have a specific tempo that you are following. If you are performing 4 sets of 12 repetitions at a 2-0-1-0 tempo, and you are able to complete all 4 sets of 12 repetitions with proper form using that 2-0-1-0 tempo, then the following workout, you can try to complete 4 sets of 12 repetitions using a 3-0-1-0 tempo, and then once you can complete all that, then you could try something like a 4-0-1-0 tempo. If that was still manageable, and you were able to complete all of the sets and repetitions, then try something like a 4-0-2-0 tempo. If you are using a work interval, let's say 4 sets of 40 seconds work and 120 seconds rest, then use that 40 seconds to perform as many repetitions as possible, or AMRAP, and if you are able to complete all 4 sets without having to stop during the 40 seconds, then you can try adding 15 seconds of work and subtracting 15 seconds of rest the following workout by performing 4 sets of 55 seconds work and 105 seconds rest. Once you can complete that, then you can try adding an additional 15 seconds of work and subtracting an additional 15 seconds of rest by performing 4 sets of 60 seconds work and 90 seconds rest. The fifth way to progress your workout and increase total training volume is to modify the rest periods. This can be accomplished by either adding or subtracting rest between sets. Subtracting rest between sets is a terrific strategy for lifters who are either working out at home or who train at a gym where the weight is limited. Let's say that you are performing a workout that consists of 4 sets of 12 repetitions with 120 seconds of rest between sets. If you are able to complete all 4 sets of 12 repetitions while resting 120 seconds and you've maxed out on the weight that is available, then the following workout you can try using that same weight but subtract 15 seconds of rest and perform 4 sets of 12 repetitions with 105 seconds rest. If you can complete all of the prescribed sets and repetitions while only resting 105 seconds, then you can subtract an additional 15 seconds and perform 4 sets of 12 repetitions with 90 seconds rest. Since you won't be resting as long, the workout will be finished in less time, which will allow you to add 1 or 2 more supplemental or accessory exercises at the end of your workout, which will allow you to increase the total training volume for that workout. To contrast this method, you can also increase the rest period between sets if you have unlimited weight and are not crunched for time. If you are performing 4 sets of 12 repetitions with 90 seconds rest, and by the 3rd set you can only complete 10 repetitions, then you can increase the rest period by 15 or 30 seconds to allow you to try and get all 12 repetitions on that final set. Next, let's discuss recovery. Aside from having adequate recovery between sets, you also want to ensure that you are allowing your body to sufficiently recover between workouts. How much rest you will require will depend on several factors: the training experience, training split, training intensity, conditioning level, and muscle fiber dominance. Recovery periods between performing the same workout can be anywhere from 24 to 60 hours, and all 5 of the aforementioned factors will need to be taken into consideration when deciding on the appropriate amount of recovery between workouts, as there is a lot of overlap. When considering training experience, if someone has never trained before, then they don't need to be in the gym every day. For beginners, 2 days per week will be plenty. You don't want to go all in, because you will likely burn out and have a higher probability of quitting. Beginners should start with 2 to 3 full body training days per week, with 1 to 2 recovery days between workouts. If you are a beginner training 2 full body days per week, then something like a Monday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday training schedule would be a great way to structure your workouts. If you are a beginner who can handle 3 days per week, then you can either train full body or do something like an upper body, lower body training split every other day or 3 days per week, like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. If you are doing a split routine, then you want to make sure that you are alternating between upper body and lower body workouts each time you train. For someone who is an intermediate Or if you are a beginner with a bit more experience who can handle more training days, then 3 to 5 days per week would be great. If you are an intermediate or experienced beginner training 3 days per week, then you can either do 3 full body training sessions per week or an upper body, lower body training split and alternate between upper body workouts and lower body workouts. If you are going to be training 4 days per week, then you can do an upper body, lower body training split back to back with 1 to 2 recovery days in between workouts. Something like an upper body workout on Mondays and Thursdays, a lower body workout on Tuesdays and Fridays, and then rest on Wednesday, Saturday, and Sundays. You can also do an upper body, lower body training split where you are taking 2 days on, 1 day off. This will give you between 4 to 5 workouts per week, depending on which day of the week the rest day falls on. If you want to train 4 to 5 days per week, you can also use this 5-day training split that was taught to me by Charles Poliquin in 2010 and is one of my favorite training splits. Day 1 is going to be your push and pull day. Day 2 is going to be legs and abs. Day 3 is a rest day. Day 4 is going to be arms and shoulders. Day 5 is another rest day. And then on day 6, you go back to day 1. If you are an advanced lifter or a really experienced intermediate lifter and who can handle more training volume, then you could train 4 to 7 days per week. You just need to program properly to ensure that you're allowing yourself adequate recovery between workouts. Aside from training experience and training splits, we also need to look at the intensity of the workout and the conditioning level and muscle fiber dominance of the athlete. The higher the intensity of the workout, the more time will be needed to adequately recover. If you are training 6 repetitions to failure, then you will need more time to recover than if you are performing 12 comfortable repetitions, and if you are very deconditioned, let's say that you're either new to training, coming back from a long layoff, or returning from injury, then you will need more time to recover than someone who is very well conditioned. The size of the muscle and physiological makeup of the muscle will also play a big role. With regard to muscle fiber dominance, the 2 main types of muscles that we have are phasic muscles, or fast twitch muscle fibers, and tonic muscles, or slow twitch muscle fibers. Our phasic or fast twitch muscle fibers are more superficial, cross multiple joints, and are better suited for strength, speed, and power or explosiveness. They include muscles such as our pectoralis major, latissimus dorsi, gluteus maximus, and gastrocnemius. On the other hand, our tonic or slow twitch muscle fibers are deeper, only cross a single joint, and they are our postural muscles, which means they respond better to endurance. They include muscles such as our pectoralis minor, rhomboids major and minor, gluteus medius and minimus, and soleus. Therefore, since speed, strength, and power are high-intensity biomotor abilities, and endurance is a low-intensity biomotor ability, then our phasic or fast-twitch muscle fibers will require more time to recover and should be trained earlier on in the workout program, whereas our tonic or slow-twitch muscle fibers won't need as much time to recover and should be trained later on in the workout program. One final thing I would like to bring up with regard to recovery, aside from recovery between workouts, is the importance of sleep. If you want to see the best results possible, then you need to make sure that you're getting an adequate amount of sleep. When you train, that is a catabolic event. Your muscle is tearing itself down, and when you sleep, that is anabolic. Your muscle is repairing itself and building itself back up while you sleep. I've already discussed the importance of sleep in the 3rd podcast, Lose Fat and Build Muscle by Sleeping, so instead of repeating myself, I'm just going to reiterate the 4 ways in which you can optimize your sleep habits. 1. Keep all electronics out of the bedroom. 2. Sleep in a cool environment. 3. Have a pre-bed ritual. And 4. Have your head on the pillow by 10 p.m. Lastly, let's discuss plateaus. A plateau is when you stop seeing progress. Ideally, you should be able to progress by at least 2% each workout. This means that you should either be lifting 2% more weight or performing 2% more repetitions than you were the previous workout. If not, then it's time to change up the workout routine. On average, I find that it is best to change up the workout every 6 to 7 workouts. However, this will depend on your training level. For someone who is brand new to working out and who has never trained before, then they'll be able to perform the same workout for a longer period of time and still see results, and they may be able to perform the same workout 12 times before they hit a plateau. However, for someone who is more advanced, let's say a professional athlete with decades of training experience, they may need to change up the workout routine every 1 or 2 workouts as their bodies will adapt much quicker. This is why keeping a training log is very important. Don't just go into the gym and train off of memory. Keep track of everything and make sure that you are progressing. Too often, people will go into the gym and perform the same exercises and use the same weights and perform the same repetitions and then wonder why they never see results. Remember the first thing that we discussed, the SAID principle, specific adaptation to impose demand. Well, if you don't give your muscles a reason to grow, then they won't grow, and by performing the same exercises with the same weight and for the same number of repetitions, then you're not giving your body any reason to grow because, in your body size, it's already capable of performing the task that you are giving it, so why bother getting bigger or stronger? But if you keep track of your workouts and follow these general guidelines, then you'll be able to get bigger, stronger, and faster.
Thanks for hanging around until the end of the video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like the video and comment down in the comment section as it would really help out with the algorithm. And also share this video so we can help get this information out to as many people as possible. And also subscribe to the channel by clicking on the icon in the bottom right hand corner and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the videos. For those of you interested in health optimization, you can check out the video in the top right corner where I discuss the 6 foundation principles. And for those of you interested in optimizing your performance, then consider becoming a member. It's only $5 per month and you get a ton of perks, including exclusive access to this program design lecture series playlist above my head.